The letter arrived on a Tuesday, crisp and important looking. It was unlike any other piece of mail I had ever received. The envelope was thick, made of high-quality paper, and it had a weight to it that made my heart race with anticipation. I could feel the significance of its contents even before I opened it. Aunt Cassandra's seal, a majestic lion, held the promise inside: my ticket out. The lion, a symbol of strength and nobility, seemed to roar with the possibilities that lay ahead. It was as if the seal itself was urging me to break free from my current life and embrace the unknown. My escape from the cramped apartment, the ramen noodle dinners, the hand-me-down clothes. Each night as I sat in our tiny kitchen slurping down another bowl of instant noodles, I dreamed of a life where I didn't have to worry about the next meal or the next bill. The letter in my hand was a beacon of hope, a chance to leave behind the struggles and embrace a life of comfort. Aunt Cassandra, my mother's estranged sister, was offering me a life of privilege, a world away from our humble existence. She lived in a grand mansion, a place I had only seen in movies. The thought of walking through its marble halls, sleeping in a room bigger than our entire apartment was intoxicating. It was a world where I could reinvent myself, where I could be someone new. My heart pounded, a drumbeat of excitement drowning out the quiet voice inside, the one whispering about Mom. The voice reminded me of the sacrifices she had made, the love she had given. It was a love that couldn't be measured in dollars or square footage, but the allure of a new life was strong, and it was hard to ignore the possibilities that lay ahead. Mom always said money couldn't buy happiness. She believed in the simple joys of life, in the value of hard work and perseverance. She taught me that true happiness came from within, from the love and connections we build with others. But as I held the letter, I couldn't help but wonder if maybe, just maybe, money could buy a chance at a different kind of happiness. But maybe, just maybe, it could buy a chance at a life less ordinary. A life where I didn't have to worry about the future, where I could explore my passions and dreams without the constant weight of financial stress. I imagined myself traveling the world, attending prestigious schools, and living a life filled with opportunities that were currently out of reach. And I, young and restless, craved anything but ordinary. The thought of staying in the same place, living the same life, filled me with a sense of dread. I wanted to break free, to see what else the world had to offer. The letter was my chance to do just that, to step into a new world and leave the old one behind. So, with a mix of anticipation and a gnawing guilt, I packed my bags. Each item I placed in the suitcase felt like a piece of my old life being left behind. The excitement of the new adventure was tempered by the sadness of leaving my mother and the life we had built together. It was a bittersweet moment filled with conflicting emotions. I told myself it was an opportunity, a chance for a better future. I tried to focus on the positives, on the doors that would open for me. I reminded myself that this was a once-in-a-lifetime chance, and that I had to seize it. But the guilt lingered, a constant reminder of what I was leaving behind. But the truth was, I was choosing a gilded cage over the messy, love-filled nest I already knew. As I walked away from our apartment, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was trading one set of problems for another. The mansion might be beautiful, but it would never be home. Home was where my mother was, where the love and memories we shared would always reside. And as I took that first step towards my new life, I couldn't help but wonder if I was making the right choice. My mother, her hands rough with work, her eyes mirroring a lifetime of sacrifice, hugged me tightly at the bus station. "Promise you'll visit," she whispered, her voice thick with unshed tears. I mumbled a yes, my gaze darting between her worn coat and the sleek limousine waiting to whisk me away to Aunt Cassandra's sprawling mansion. Aunt Cassandra's world was all polished marble and crystal chandeliers. Her embrace was stiff, her smile strained. "You'll learn to fit in," she said, her voice devoid of warmth. My room was larger than our entire apartment, my closet filled with designer clothes I couldn't have imagined. But amidst the luxury, I felt a chill. My mother's love, once a warm blanket on a cold night, felt miles away. Life with Aunt Cassandra was a whirlwind of extravagance. We dined on delicacies I couldn't pronounce, attended operas and galas where diamonds sparkled brighter than the stars. I learned to sip champagne without wincing, to discuss art and politics with an air of bored sophistication. My old life, with its simplicity and warmth, began to feel like a distant dream. Aunt Cassandra introduced me to her world, a world of connections and influence. I met politicians and CEOs, children of privilege who spoke of trust funds and summer homes. For a while I reveled in it, the intoxicating allure of wealth and status. But beneath the surface, a nagging emptiness lingered. The laughter felt hollow, the conversations superficial. Section 4. A crack in the facade. The first crack appeared on my birthday. It was supposed to be a day of joy and celebration, a day where I would be surrounded by loved ones, laughter, and warmth. But instead, it marked the beginning of a realization that would change everything. Aunt Cassandra threw a lavish party, a spectacle of excess. The grand hall was adorned with glittering decorations, the air filled with the sound of laughter and music. Tables groaned under the weight of gourmet dishes and expensive wines. It was a scene straight out of a fairy tale, a dream come true for anyone who valued opulence and grandeur. Yet, amidst the throngs of people, I felt utterly alone. The laughter and chatter around me seemed distant, almost like a background noise to my own thoughts. I wandered through the crowd, a ghost in my own celebration, searching for something I couldn't quite name. The faces around me were familiar, yet they felt like strangers. Their smiles didn't reach their eyes, and their conversations felt hollow. My phone buzzed with a message from my mother, a simple happy birthday followed by a string of heart emojis. It was a small gesture, but it meant the world to me. Her words, though brief, carried a warmth that the grandest of parties couldn't replicate. I stared at the screen, my heart aching with a longing that I couldn't ignore. My eyes welled up, a wave of longing crashing over me. I missed her more than I could express. The distance between us felt insurmountable, a chasm that no amount of wealth or luxury could bridge. I wiped away a tear, trying to compose myself amidst the revelry. I missed her laugh, her stories, the way she always knew how to make me feel loved. Memories of simpler times flooded my mind, times when a homemade cake and a heartfelt hug were all I needed to feel special. Her presence was a balm to my soul, something that no amount of material wealth could replace. That night, I wandered through the echoing halls of the mansion, the silence deafening. The grandeur of the place, which once seemed so impressive, now felt cold and empty. Each step I took echoed back at me, a reminder of the loneliness that had settled in my heart. The walls, adorned with priceless art, seemed to close in on me, their beauty a stark contrast to the emptiness I felt inside. I peeked into Aunt Cassandra's study. The door was slightly ajar, and a sliver of light spilled into the dark hallway. I hesitated for a moment, then pushed the door open a bit more, curiosity getting the better of me. She sat alone, her face illuminated by the cold light of her laptop, her expression one of weary dissatisfaction. The lines on her face seemed deeper, her eyes dull and tired. She was surrounded by luxury, yet she looked more exhausted and unhappy than I had ever seen her. It was a stark contrast to the vibrant, confident woman she presented to the world. The realization struck me then: wealth and privilege had not brought her happiness. In fact, it seemed to have done the opposite. The more she amassed, the more isolated she became. The mansion, the parties, the expensive gifts, they were all just a facade, a way to mask the emptiness that gnawed at her soul. It had only bought her isolation. As I stood there watching her, I understood that true happiness couldn't be bought. It came from connections, from love, from the simple, everyday moments that we often take for granted. And in that moment, I made a silent vow to seek out those moments, to cherish the people who truly mattered, and to never let the pursuit of wealth overshadow the things that truly made life worth living. Section 5. The price of things. As the weeks turned into months, the novelty of my gilded cage wore off. I realized that everything in Aunt Cassandra's world came with a price. Kindness was a strategic move, friendships a means to an end. I saw how easily she used her wealth to control and manipulate, leaving a trail of bitterness in her wake. The guilt I had tried to bury resurfaced, more potent than ever. I thought of my mother, her love unconditional, her spirit unbroken despite the hardships life had thrown her way. I had traded her genuine warmth for the cold comfort of Aunt Cassandra's approval, and in doing so, I had lost a part of myself. Section 6. Empty rooms, emptier heart. The mansion, once an emblem of aspiration, now felt like a prison. Its grandeur, which once filled me with pride and a sense of accomplishment, now seemed hollow and meaningless. The vastness of the space only amplified the emptiness I felt inside. The high ceilings seemed to press down on me, the opulent furnishings suffocating. Every piece of art, every luxurious item, once a symbol of my success, now felt like a chain binding me to a life that no longer brought me joy. The beauty of the mansion was undeniable, but it was a beauty that now felt cold and distant. I wandered from room to room, restless and lost. Each step echoed through the empty halls, a constant reminder of the solitude that had become my daily companion. The rooms, once filled with laughter and life, now stood silent and still, like a museum of memories that I could no longer touch or feel. The silence was broken only by the clinking of silverware in the formal dining room, where I ate dinner most nights, alone. The grand table, designed to host lavish dinners and celebrations, now felt like a vast expanse separating me from any sense of warmth or connection. Each meal was a reminder of the isolation that had crept into my life. I called my mother more often now, my voice cracking with a longing for her familiar comfort. Her voice, always so warm and reassuring, was a lifeline in the sea of loneliness that surrounded me. Each conversation was a brief respite from the emptiness, a moment of connection that I desperately clung to. She always answered, her tone bright despite the distance. Her words were like a balm to my aching heart, a reminder that I was not completely alone. She spoke of home, of familiar places and faces, painting pictures with her words that brought a fleeting sense of comfort and belonging. She never reproached me for my choice, but I heard the unspoken question in her silences, the concern in her voice. She wondered if I was truly happy, if the life I had chosen was worth the price I was paying. Her concern was a mirror reflecting my own doubts and fears, questions I was not yet ready to face. Each call chipped away at the wall I had built around my heart, revealing the raw ache beneath. The conversations, though brief, were a reminder of the love and connection I had left behind in pursuit of my dreams. They were a stark contrast to the emptiness of the mansion, a reminder that true wealth was not measured in material possessions, but in the relationships and connections that filled our lives with meaning and joy.